Aristotle once noted that to give away money is an easy matter in any man's power, but to decide to whom to give it and how large and when, and for what purpose and how, is neither in every man's power nor an easy matter. Hello, my name is Rabbi Robin Schoenfeld. I am glad that you could all make it to Chicago for this conference. This is a notable moment because we have with us both Jews and Christians, along with many other segments of society. Although I am a rabbi that was brought here to discuss a specific topic, I would like you to see me as a member of the community. The topic of today's discussion will be sacred charity, who deserves our support, and what should we give them. Times have changed since the world was first created, and Andrew Carnegie indicates that this change is not to be deplored, but welcomed as highly beneficial. As Americans, it is the duty of the government, the community, and the individual to support and provide for the poor. In both American and Jewish tradition, there is a tension between the role of the community and the role of the individual, but both play a significant part in giving money to the poor. Throughout history and Jewish past, we have seen just how far one will go to gain wealth in this capitalistic society. It is inevitable for one to focus on self-interest. Although self-interest might sound negative, as it could be, it also leads to determination and motivation among the wealthy and the poor. Everyone in this world wants to have individual power, and while that is of great importance, we also have to have rules and regulations made by the government. If America were a free market capitalistic nation, then the individuals would be taking it out of their own pockets and giving money to the poor. The problem with that is the individual will not be able to support both the poor and themselves. Since there will never be equality between the amount of rich people and the amount of poor people, the government should be enforcing lower taxes. This will allow the individual to give more from their own pockets instead of being completely reliant on the government, so that both the individual and the government will be helping the poor. In our society, it is natural for one who has a lot of money to be self-motivated and want all of the power. We have seen an example of this through the lives of the four powerful men. Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, and Cornelius Vanderbilt were all wealthy, powerful men during the Gilded Age. They were captains of the industry, but they were also robber barons. What is a robber baron, you may ask? Well, a robber baron is one who is extremely wealthy but uses their authority for unethical actions. To further the point I am trying to make, let's take Cornelius Vanderbilt, for example. Vanderbilt gained his fortune from selling unworthy steamboats that would sink before going out to shore. The steamboat business was not enough for Vanderbilt. He used his ruthless business techniques for his railroad businesses. Cornelius Vanderbilt is one example of a wealthy businessman who had no limits for obtaining power. We have also seen how far one will go, devoting to self-interest in an article by Aryeh Cohen. Aryeh Cohen is a rabbi from the American Jewish University who has written a commentary on the Sodomites. Cohen analyzes a quote in Mishneh Avot 5:10 that states, "What is mine, and what is yours is mine." This quote exhibits a hard-hearted Sodomite and how they would not share any of their resources. They embrace being selfish, which in Judaism can be referred to as Yetzer Hara, or evil inclination. The ethics of the Sodomites and the Cornelius Vanderbilt show that it takes a lot of motivation to get what you want. This relates back to our topic of who we should give charity to, because the motivation and how far one will go to gain wealth will lead to the individual power, being freer from the government and giving money to whomever we choose. With power and money come limits to how much one should give, but also to how much one has to give up in order to get the charity. In Ketubot 68a, there is a tension between the Mishnah and the Braita. The Mishnah asserts that if you need tzedakah, you are not required to sell your possessions, whereas the Braita explains how one has to sell their items that are more valuable in order to receive tzedakah or charity. In Ketubot 68a, followed by Mishneh Torah, portray a theme of public communal giving and taking. The texts explain that one cannot take under all circumstances. For example, in Halakha 13, it states that if you have 200 zuz less a dinar, you are permitted to take charity from the public. This contrasts with Halakha 14 in Rabbi Papa from Ketubot 68a, which says there is no contradiction. One is talking about before he has started to accept communal tzedakah funds, and one is talking about after he has started to accept communal tzedakah funds, he must sell his most expensive furnishings. This means that under different financial situations, one will receive charity in different ways. We all want to live the ideal utopian society, but that is unrealistic. As Seymour Siegel, an American conservative rabbi, puts it, all human structures, political, social, and economic, are flawed. Siegel continues to express that all can be transformed into instruments of evil. This means that it is impossible for the amount of wealthy people to be proportionate to the amount of poor people. In The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, Jurgis and his family represent people who travel to America to fulfill the American dream. They believed that by moving to Chicago, there would be more opportunity for them to gain wealth. This is a common misconception that most immigrants consider. When the family settled in, they realized that it was going to be difficult to find jobs. The working conditions were detrimental and unpleasant. There was blood on the ground, it reeked of dead animals, and all of the workers were sweating. But there were many things that were not on exhibition for the casual visitor. When Jurgis began working, he came to terms with his situation and saw that it wasn't going to get better. He was poor and that was not going to change. In the jungle, Jurgis believed that the only way to achieve some form of wealth and happiness was to stray away from the government and move towards a community. This connects to the topic of who we should be giving charity to, because the jungle shows that if the government had complete authority, there would be more poverty. But if the government works with the communities and the individuals, then society would be more balanced. As you can see, it is the moral obligation of the government, the community, and the individual to assist and give charity or tzedakah to the poor. Who we should give charity to and how much we should give becomes apparent through literary and historical examples, as well as Jewish texts and traditions. We here at the conference have become aware that wealthy, powerful people have beneficial intentions, but what it takes to get what they want can be seen as immoral, impractical, and unfair. This is something that will continue for the rest of our lives because self-motivation is inescapable. We have examined that under different circumstances, one might have to give up a possession in order to receive charity from the community or even an individual. We also have grasped the idea that mankind cannot live in the ideal utopian society that exists in the American dream. In order to try and find equality between the rich and the poor, we need to work together and support each other in this large community. Thank you all for joining me today in this discussion, and I hope that you can find it in your hearts to help the poor people in any way that you can.